Yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski. Welcome to my Lunar New Year event prep guide for PokeMMO in the year 2025. If this is your first event, welcome. It's an honor to have you. I'll try to go over things as clearly and quickly as possible. And if it's a returning player and you're doing this event for the second time, welcome back. Let's get those Shaymins, and good luck to everybody on their first shiny Shaymin, hopefully bringing the first one into the game. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. I'm already talking about Shaymin. However, Shaymin's probably the biggest part of the event / the most important part of the event for many people, and I'm standing at this spot in game for a good reason. You see, this is Floroma Meadow over in Sinnoh, and one of the biggest things I recommend players do off the bat is finish the Sinnoh region, or at least access up to the Floroma Meadow, because this is usually where the Shaymin encounter is, which is a limited time mythical Pokemon only achievable once a year for one encounter per account over here in Sinnoh during the Lunar New Year event. And typically in the past, you've unlocked access to Shaymin via doing 12 different raids in a Lunar New Year event style, and then the final 13th raid you unlock is the Shaymin encounter. You don't actually have to fight it as a raid though. However, we might see that for the first time this year. Now that I've got you hooked with the idea of Shaymin, let's go ahead and go over some qualifiers. Everything I talk about today is just a guesstimate based off of experience and tons of hours in the game, as well as what I've seen previously historically in events. We never know what is going to happen for sure in PokeMMO events. The devs do not promise us much or really anything. We have to go based off of guesstimations, expectations, and sort of preparing for everything we possibly can, while understanding that it's very possible none of this happens. It's a totally new event and history will not repeat itself. It's most likely that it does, but in case it doesn't, I don't want people getting upset at me or mad at me like, hey, Patrouski, I listened to you, and now, you know, Shaymin's not even here, yada, 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 which is totally possible. I want to tell you guys up front, it is possible. But let's stick to the basics. The Lunar New Year event will most likely begin on January 29th. January 29th in 2025, as that is when the Lunar New Year event takes place IRL, or the Chinese New Year. I don't know if there's a reason to call the event either one or the other more specifically. I kind of just go back and forth between Chinese New Year and Lunar New Year. Alright, so if step 1 is finish the Sinnoh region for Shaymin, step 2 is preparing raid Pokemon to be able to play the Lunar New Year event as well as obtain Shaymin. Now, if you're wondering what Pokemon you should prepare for Lunar New Year event raids, I'll be linking a video by Cav, who is, in my opinion, one of the best raiders in PokeMMO and makes the, in my opinion, best raid content for PokeMMO, where he goes over all the different raid Pokemon from the previous year, like Lopunny, Zebstrika, Ampharos, Gyarados, Excadrill, etc. And he goes over what Pokemon he'll be preparing and sort of strategies to look out for these Pokemon. So if you want an in-depth review of the upcoming possible Lunar New Year event raids, the Cav guide will be linked in the description, as well as Sora's playing in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen passively during this little raid section. Now, I do want to talk about the Pokemon and the raid mons that were good last year for raids are not, most likely, it could be wrong, most likely not going to be good this year. Last year, the Lunar New Year event 2024 was the first time we ever saw raids in PokeMMO, and what was good against them was very bulky strategies like setting up with Iron Defense, Hone Claws, Metagross, things like Stored Power Uniclus. Raids have changed dramatically since then, and I'm guessing the mechanics alongside them will as well. Nowadays, raids are kind of a DPS test. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, Cav is showing off things like Solar Power Charizard, things like Volcarona, things like Darmanitan. Now you want to set up Sun with things like a Drought Ninetales, set up Tailwind with a Prankster Murkrow, and then do as much damage as humanly possible. So the Sun team right now, I think, is the go-to basic team for all raids that works against a ton of raids. But there's a ton of different things, a ton of different strategies. Each raid is most likely going to need a slightly different strategy, and you can, once again, check out Cav's guide, please. Link in the description for extra details. I will say, one of my favorite things that I loved doing, and I don't know if it'll be the same this year or not, but my favorite raid from the Lunar New Year event 2024 was the Gyarados raid. The reason being, you literally only needed one Pokemon to beat the Gyarados raid. I'm not joking, which I think is very, very funny. I don't know if it'll be the same this year, but I'll show you guys what that looked like if it is, just in case. Essentially, for the Gyarados raid last year, all you needed was a Zapdos with choice specs. That is literally it. So what you would do is, and you would have 5 other Pokemon, but they could all be like level 80 Magikarps. Like they could be like just the shittiest, most nothing Pokemon possible. Sorry for the strays, I guess, towards Magikarp, unintended, but all you need is a good Zapdos, with choice specs, and then you would spam vault switch. This is how you can watch my old videos. This is actually how I beat Gyarados last year. Was I led with a Zapdos, I outsped the Gyarados every time. I clicked vault switch with choice specs and switched over to like a sacrifice shitty Magikarp, and then I just brought Zapdos back in every time, and I did this on repeat, and I literally did max damage with Zapdos, and I was able to kill Gyarados just with essentially one Pokemon. You definitely want to focus on preparing, in my opinion, the least amount of Pokemon possible for each raid so you don't waste time. There's going to be other raids you might struggle with, so it's better to put less time and energy into something like Gyarados if you can just blast it down with one Pokemon. Also, if Zapdos is good again this year, I mean, wink, wink, it might be good to either pick up your elemental orbs now if you need them, or pick up your Zapdoses, or catch your Zapdoses, farm your Zapdoses now if you don't have them already. Thanks to PokeMMO Zone, a PokeMMO tool website that I love to shout out that I'm not sponsored by, I can actually quickly check that right now Zapdos is currently the roaming legendary in Kanto. Make sure to go get your Zapdos if you don't have one for the upcoming Lunar New Year event raids. You're only going to have until the end of January, right? The event starts on January 29th. So if you wait until the 29th and oh my goodness, now I need a Zapdos, and you only have 2 days to farm the Zapdos instead of playing the event, number one, you might not get that Zapdos in those 2 days, and then once it rotates to the next legendary, and number two, you're not going to be playing the event, you're not going to be having fun, so I really encourage you to farm your Zapdos now if you need it. All right, we've talked about Shaymin, we've talked about completing Sinnoh, we talked about preparing raid Pokemon. What else can you do to prepare for the Lunar New Year event? I mean, number one is just clear your schedule. We know that it'll most likely be January 29th. Now, that could be January 28th, like late in the afternoon, or it could actually be on January 29th. It's kind of hard to tell. Usually events happen at midnight UTC, so but also, this is an event where it's a Chinese-centric event. It might happen in Chinese time, and I'm just not familiar with that time zone. So just keep an eye on PokeMMO around the 28th to 29th, no matter your time zone, and I think you'll kind of get a good idea. And I'll try to be doing live updates on stream and stuff, and I'll be putting out videos as soon as possible whenever the event is live. And if you don't want to miss those, make sure to ring the notification bell for the channel. But next up, saving Pokeyen. Saving Pokeyen prior to an event is an extremely important task. In case the event changes, you need to switch up strategies to be able to beat certain raids. You need to go buy, like, I don't know, Infernape is super good for this raid for some reason. I need to get a competitive Infernape now. Let me go see, like, how much the cheapest Infernape costs. Like, it's 250,000 Pokeyen. Like, oh man, like, I don't have that. So make sure to save up Pokeyen. The more Pokeyen you have, the better is the general metric. However, I think if you have like 30 million Pokeyen saved, you pretty much can do even like 25 mil, you can pretty much do everything in an event. With like 25 to 30 mil, you can pretty much buy one of each vanity, buy whatever raid Pokemon you may need or strategies. You can do flipping, you can make investments. Like with 25 to 30 mil, you can literally do everything in the event. With 5 mil, you could, or with, let's do different metrics. 1 mil, you could probably do most things. You probably could switch or pivot to certain things. You probably could do a little bit of flipping if you want to do that. You probably could participate in 99% of the event activities. 1 mil, you can do most things. With 5 mil, you probably can buy one of the big RP vanities. You probably could buy a lot more vanities. You can easily switch strategies, yada, yada, yada. And then once you get to like 10 mil and beyond, 10 mil and beyond is where I would be like, okay, you probably should be making some investments if you plan on playing PokeMMO for 2 years. Keep in mind, I don't recommend making investments unless you plan on playing the game for 2 years or more, like actually long term. You can make some investments, and once you reach like 20 mil, all that stuff just increases. Furthermore, you can get more of the big vanities, more of the big RP shop items, the fancy stuff. You can invest in more things, etc., etc. You can gamble more if you really want to. I don't recommend gambling on like the sealed product in the events, but you're paying for entertainment. More power to you. So saving Pokeyen is a classic thing that you need to do for pretty much every single holiday event within PokeMMO. And keep in mind, this is the final holiday event in event season in PokeMMO. It goes Halloween event on October 31st, Christmas event around December 24th, 25th, and then the Lunar New Year event, the Chinese New Year event. And then after that, we usually don't see much in terms of in-game events until next October. We probably will see like an in-game update in the summer, or like certain updates or patches here and there. Maybe partial events if we get lucky in the summer. Maybe, if we get super lucky, they'll bring back the anniversary event in the summer, but it's totally okay to spend all of your money during the Lunar New Year event and then rebuild from now until October. Now, make sure you actually are willing to rebuild and willing to make Pokeyen, but I would say this is an event where you can be a little bit more loose cannon-y, if that makes sense. Because Halloween and Christmas, you're still saving money for the next event. Like, you're still like, you have to say, like, oh, if I have 50 mil, I'm only gonna spend 10 mil in the Halloween event. If I have 30 mil by the time the Christmas event rolls around, I'm only going to spend 10 mil so I have 20 mil left over for the Lunar New Year event. Like, you want to save your money for the next event. This is the last event. You don't really have to save your Pokeyen for anything after this, aside for personal goals and personal tasks. So obviously don't go crazy with it, but you can be a little more loose candy on this event compared to previous events. So to quickly recap, finish the Sinnoh region, save Pokeyen, prepare raid Pokemon. The last thing that I would recommend possibly doing is buying or selling certain items that may get price changes based on the event dropping. This could include things like rare candies dropping even further. We'll see what their current price is. Things like this is all possibilities. Please don't make financial decisions based off of just what I say right now. It possibly maybe could happen and then be upset at me. Rare candies might drop more given the fact that they might be in the sealed product. Things like XP charms, things like riches charms, like these might drop in price because generally the Lunar New Year event is kind of the big charm event, I would say, except for obviously no shiny charms. Shiny charms are no longer dropped in events like this. Shiny charms are tied to the RP price since they're now in the gift shop, so please keep that in mind. Speaking of, you may want to buy some RP. I believe the price of RP is decently cheap right now, at around 2.4. Yeah, 2.4, 2.5. If they release a really, really good gift shop vanity, the price of RP might very, very well go up. So you might want to prepare yourself some RP ahead of time, as opposed to panic buying RP for like 2.8 mil during the event if it's a very, very good vanity. You may want to sell, a possible one is Excadrills. If all of the Pokemon return, like Alpha Excadrills, I myself might be selling some of my Excadrills because it's very possible that Alpha Excadrills return. Now, if you only have, to be fair, if you only have one Excadrill, like if I only have this one competitive Excadrill, I'm not selling this. Like, this is my one Excadrill, right? But if you have some extras, I'm gonna have extra Drillburs. Like, let's see. If you have extra Drillburs with hit ability access, which I don't, to be fair right now, but if you have like multiple Excadrill comps, multiple Drillburs, this is a Pokemon that might be losing a lot of value soon. We don't know for sure. I wouldn't say a lot. You know, it's kind of tanked to be worthless, but right now the cheapest Alpha Excadrill is 860,000 Pokeyen because Mold Breaker Excadrill is a very good PvP Pokemon. Being able to set up Stealth Rocks through Magic Bounce is very, very good, as well as being able to Earthquake things like Rotom with Levitate. So it's a very, very powerful Pokemon. Very, very, very good ability. However, this was an event-only alpha Pokemon, only able to be gotten via the Lunar New Year event during the Lunar New Year event raids. So it holds a really, really high price for being a good in PvP Pokemon, as well as a pretty limited release one. It's very possible we get another Alpha Excadrill raid this year, which is going to give an insane like influx of supply to that Pokemon. So the prices may tank down to like 300k or so. Still a pretty pricey Pokemon, but down to like a 300k base price instead of like a 900k one. So you might want to sell off extra Excadrills, extra Drillburs, etc., etc. And I'm sure there's a ton of items and Pokemon that I'm missing that are all affected by event prices, and it's up to you to discover what those might be and discover what might be best for you and make your own financial decisions. But all right, I believe that covers everything. I hope this was a helpful video to you. If it was, make sure to leave a like on it very quickly. Dislike if it was not. Subscribe to the channel for PokeMMO videos every single day. Follow the streams on Twitch for streams Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET. Discord's down below for tons of help during events, as well as to just join a really cool community who loves PokeMMO. And if you want to go above and beyond and support the content, YouTube memberships, Twitch Primes, Twitch subs, and PayPal/Venmo donations are very, very appreciated. And you guys allow me to do this at all. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I wish you guys the best Chinese New Year. Peace, Reno, fellas. Hey, thank you so very much for watching until the very end of the video. That means the world to me. And if your name is listed here, you're the reason I'm able to do this in the first place by going above and beyond and supporting the channel via YouTube memberships and Twitch Primes. Thank you so much. Have a great day.